I'm Aubrey, just to get that introduction going. I'm with the Office of Civic Engagement, and then this is my colleague.
Hi, I'm Livy. Nice to meet everyone.
And then our other VISTA member, she is manning our table, so please make sure you go say hi to her. Her name is Alicia. But we will be here talking to you about communicating. Specifically, how do you communicate through the ages, and more specifically, how to effectively communicate alongside multi-generational age groups. So this is kind of like that topic we're really diving into. So Livy and I will just toggle back and forth, and if we see a question, this is a small group, so feel free to just like shoot your hand up and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. But we'll just get into it because we have a lot to talk about, and I'm sure we'll have a good time. This is just a quick overview if Livy wants to go over what we'll be going about.
Yeah, so we are going to be talking about today intergenerational volunteering, why it matters, identifying patterns with generational volunteer groups, how they arise when volunteering, tensions and solutions, examples, why does communication matter, and then at the end we will leave room for questions.
And now we're just going to toggle back and forth between the points. So like we said, feel free to bother us as we go through them. But we're just going to start with why having intergenerational groups matters, and really coming into defining what that even means. So when we mean intergenerational groups, we mean volunteers who range from all ages, because we recognize that you have those who are the baby boomers to those who are in your Gen Z crowd. So we want to really, we really want to emphasize that we want to have those intergenerational groupings for volunteering. You don't want to just have that one type of volunteer group. So we really want to talk about just that, why they're important and why they can be difficult to cultivate. Because when you have all of those array of individuals with experiences, you can run into some heated issues that come up. So we're gonna just spend a little bit about why intergenerational groups are important and why they should be cultivated. So firstly, they do create diverse perspectives, because you have all of these individuals from an array of fields, whether you have the baby boomers with their array of experience through the years, or you have the Gen Z crowd who is really technologically advanced and can make their social media reels. You have a diverse perspectives from all across the board, which really creates better solutions, because when you have those solutions, you're able to, without those solutions, when you have those experiences, you're able to pull those solutions and create better solutions, because you'll be able to be like, oh, I didn't think about that from that perspective. So being able to have that array of perspectives from that group is really important.
Yeah. And then we're also going to talk about volunteering and how it's like a two-way street. It is giving back, but you can take as much from that experience. Especially, I'm Gen Z. I learn a lot every single day, and I'm always learning, and especially from my peers and my elders. And I know that they can learn as much from me, even if it's something different, like how Aubrey was saying, like social media, reels, they can teach me how to write a check, like different things like that.
So no, exactly. So volunteering does become a two-way street, as Livy was saying. And then also, when you're creating those connections, you're breaking down the stereotypes, because you're not thinking about the baby boomer as a monolithic image. You're like, oh, no, there is some sort of diversity. You're learning that individual by that person, instead of thinking them as a stereotype. You're actually having empathy, whether that's young or old. It goes both ways, because we all have stereotypes. Ageism is kind of real. So we want to try and break down those stereotypes and be able to say, no, intergenerational groups help build something that is powerful, that is meaningful, that is strong for not just your volunteer experience, but for nonprofits as well. Go for it.
So yeah, we have like different generational patterns. Something that is a pattern with baby boomers and the way they like to communicate. They prefer face-to-face, which is valid. They didn't have anything but the cell phone, or not even cell phone. See, I'm Gen Z. I'm so addicted to my technology. But baby boomers had letters and maybe a landline if they were lucky. And so it's really important to get that perspective. Face-to-face communication is key. Digital first is usually a turnoff. Like, they have spent probably around at least 5 generations without daily technology. My siblings are from the 90s. I know that's not baby boomers. But they were talking about the other day how their math teacher always told them, like, you'll never have a calculator in your pocket. And now we do. We have calculators and cameras and all of these different ways to connect us. But baby boomers, they want their experience recognized and valued. And that makes sense. There was a lot of emphasis on individuality and how you can achieve things like as a person in their perspective and in the way that they were raised from a generational perspective. And so just a hot tip that we have with that is that offering varying formats. So like have some volunteer opportunities that are maybe homebound. Read to Me is an organization that we work with a lot, and they have opportunities that you can do from your house. And so just being mindful of like accessibility when dealing with baby boomers and how like digital might be a turnoff for them.
Thank you, Livy. And now we're gonna just jump into the Gen X pattern. So Gen X is after your baby boomers. Those are like, I want to say they're your older adults, but they're not your older eldest adults. But the Gen X, they're pretty common. They're one of the most common in the workforce, and they like their direct communication. Give it to them straight. Give it to them clear, concise. Give it to them as fast as possible. They're kind of, once we keep going down, the faster the better with these generations, it seems like. But usually, I like the baby boomers. They do prefer face-to-face communication, but it doesn't need to be like the like set in with that, because they do respond to emails, but they do disengage when they find that the organization or that the volunteer opportunity that they might be engaging in is chaotic. Like if it's too chaotic, because they already have a well-established life. They already have a life. They already know what they're doing every single day. They don't want to add more chaos into that array of life. But if you're able to create something that's clear and provide multiple avenues, such as Livy was talking about, not just for the baby boomers, these hot tips can basically apply to all of the generations. This is something we're trying to emphasize here, is that though we have these generations, really, as you can see, we've highlighted keywords in each generation that highlights that they all kind of want something similar when they volunteer. They want to feel that there's structure. They want to feel that there's communication. They want to know that it's clear. They don't want to be walking into murky waters. We as volunteers don't want to walk in and not know what we're doing. And like, that's kind of just like, that's not appealing to any generation. So there are things that we wanted to emphasize that each generation holds dear, and that is that we want clarity. Clarity is important to each of these generations in their own way. And if you're able to tap into that and pull their way of communication, and I think you'll be able to engage more diversely and more in a way that suits the volunteers, and just have a better volunteer experience regardless of the generational patterns. But Gen X specifically, you do need to provide multiple avenues of service, whether it's long-term commitment and short-term commitment, so they can have that varied approach. Yes, and now millennials.
Yay! Millennials. So millennials love collaborative feedback, which is oriented around communication, and millennials tend to face burnout. You guys might have experienced that before yourselves. It happens a lot, like with Gen Z as well. I know that I have a bad habit of this, but millennial and Gen Z, we do tend to say yes before we visualize our actual capacity or bandwidth. How many of us have like signed up or said yes for something and then was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Yeah, all the time. It happens. It totally happens. So millennials do have a desire to communicate with those clear goals and purpose, but they also have that tendency to overload their plate. So being able to make sure that we have a clear line of communication, that we set goals and then specific tactics to reach those goals is really important with millennials. So hot tip, offering varying forms of recognition and feedback. Some may prefer more formal settings, some are like more laid back and more chill. So it just depends on how you want to recognize your volunteer, because millennials as a whole, it's about 50-50. Like 50-50 are tend to be more professional, and then the other side is like, yeah, we can be more personable about it.
If you want to do Gen Z, since
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I do like to talk about Gen Z. It's not to be selfish, but as you can tell in our present, or at least with me presenting, we tend to be informal. We think everyone's our friend. We really want everyone to be our friend, to the point where like we communicate. In our communication, we value the impact over like the length of the communication. So like when you tell us something, like what does that make us want to do? Are we jumping the gun to like go volunteer? How is what you're saying making us feel? That's how we visualize like our motivation. And so just a hot tip for Gen Z is to honor our experience. For us, like Gen Z, honor our elders and their experience and what they try to teach us. That's the tip for Gen Z.
Any questions while we go? And now we're going to move into like talking about the tensions that kind of come up when dealing with generations, because I know, and I think we've all experienced having miscommunication or just general conflict when you're dealing with varying generations, or either someone who's older or younger than you. And so we're just getting into a couple of those. And we had a whole skit planned out, but we will probably just give examples, and we could maybe even pull from the crowd as well if you have examples as well. But some examples, I'll read the first one and then provide an example that we came up with. Commitment expectations. So baby boomers, they do feel like their commitment, they can be committed to long-term volunteer experiences. They will be there for not forever, but they will come every Thursday, every Friday, however often they have committed, they will be there. And so where we tends to be some volunteer pushback is when the baby boomer looks to the Gen Z, and the Gen Z can only commit for one day sporadically, but they have all of that heart. And so maybe what can tend to happen is the baby boomer feels like they're doing more than the Gen Z volunteer, but really we always want to emphasize and go back to that you're both here for the same reason. We're here to volunteer. We're here to do this project. We're here to do X, Y, and Z. And I always like to say, bring it back to the why. Always remind everyone why we're there, why we're doing this, and that understanding that people come to volunteer for different reasons, that we all have our own schedules. And that's the beauty of the One Albuquerque volunteer website, is that you sign up for your own schedule, how you would like to volunteer. So it's always keeping that in mind.
Yeah. So another tension that can happen intergenerationally, I can't say that word. Can you guys say that word? But another problem that happens in between people of different age groups. Communication, speed, and preference. Of course, the younger you are, generally speaking, you're going to prefer email, text message. I've talked to, again, my siblings before who are both millennials, and they were like, we've never like texted our boss. And so, but something as a Gen Z person, even with like volunteering, I have started to do the kitten volunteering with animal welfare, and I'll be like texting Valerie Grief or Carolyn Thompson, who is with us today tabling. And so Gen Z prefers like email, phone, and even though Gen Z and millennials do have, like I have my email on my phone, I have my text message on my phone, I would say Gen Z and millennials may not feel as inclined to respond, even if they have that access. So like your Gen Z and millennial people are going to be like, oh, it's 5:00. I am home. It's not time to like contact me. So sometimes, like, even though they have that access, they may not be, they may set a boundary. in a way that older generations have not seen before. And especially like with older generations, they prefer a faster response. They prefer to see like your results, even if it's not like in communication of email or text message. Like maybe older generations may be sending face-to-face communication, like how we talked about baby boomers love face-to-face communication. And so it just depends on like your volunteer opportunity and what you're trying to achieve.
And then another tension that we tend to find is that the approach to authority and hierarchical leadership tends to kind of vary between the ages. And really what that shows up in volunteering as a volunteer is the kind of butt heads when you're working on a project together. Someone has a way of doing it, it's either my way or the highway. Like they have a way of doing it and they're set on it. And that's kind of where good volunteer coordinators should step in and be like, level the playing field, level what we're doing, level the experience. Say it's a matter of experience, but knowing that there are multiple ways to do a project and really being clear about what way we're doing it and reminding individuals that yes, there may be a way you're used to doing it, or this might be a faster way or a more efficient way, thinking about the Gen Z who always wants to go, get it up quick. But there is proper channels to go and volunteer and have that authority in that volunteer role. And so to just add on to another facet of this, it's kind of like if you sorry, I just heard a noise. Beautiful music.
Sorry, that's
No, we're chill. But that approach to authority. So like if we level the playing field and once again be clear about leadership, clear about designating someone as that volunteer coordinator or someone who can be that leader if you trust someone in as a volunteer to show up and be that authority figure in a way that is friendly, is approachable, doesn't demean or belittle anybody based on experiences, being like, oh, you don't know how to do this, why are you even here? Like we don't want to have that type of culture created, but we want to maintain and create a culture that's about, oh, you don't know how to do this, let me teach you how to do this. So this is the type of like the varying communication levels, and the way you communicate really does impact how the tensions can be eased. And so now we're gonna ask you all, do you have any other tensions you want to talk about, like tensions with groups or ages? It's okay.
Is this a significant problem with volunteers?
I think we wanted to talk about this because we wanted to see we want to see more diversified volunteer groups, because when we go out into the community, we see a lot of one type of generation volunteering, and we want to really encourage that anyone can be a volunteer, anyone can be in a volunteer group, no matter like the looks of it. Even if it's like a lot of baby boomers, a Gen Z person can join it. And like I don't know, this isn't volunteering, but like a knitting group, someone can join a knitting group, and like it doesn't matter. So like we're really trying to emphasize that no matter the age, you can be a volunteer. Yeah.
And which is the largest group that you have that volunteer, or is it just a real mix?
It's a real mix. I would say our retired crowds, our baby boomers, are probably our highest. Our baby boomers and our later Gen X, our later Gen X crowd as well. And then but we do see, I think I might be even surprised, because I do want to say that like each group does show up in their own ways. Like I don't want to just say, oh, the baby boomers are always there, but like I have so many young adults, Gen Z, who do volunteer. So I think it also just depends on like where they're volunteering, because I will say there are interests for like generational groups where they would like to be volunteering, but I will say like it is more stronger in the retired range. Any other questions? All great questions. Any other tensions you would like us to talk about, like things that just didn't occur? We were also just thinking about just like really reminding people that no matter the tension, they're always there to volunteer. We're here to volunteer. Volunteers are there to volunteer. And that reminding them once again, the why. always important. Why? Why did you come here today? Why did you come to this talk? What motivated you? So really asking those questions, whether to your volunteers in the beginning or just being a mindful volunteer. I think this is also what we wanted to present, is mindful volunteering. Like, how do you be a mindful volunteer of yourself and how you're entering a space as well with others? And now we're just gonna wrap it up with, like, I majored in communications in college, if you couldn't tell. So we're gonna wrap it up with why communication matters in this, like, whole entire topic, because it really does matter. Just communication matters generally. But it just matters in volunteering because it can either make or break your volunteer group. If you have poor communication, then you're not going to have people show up. You're going to have a hostile environment. You're going to have a poor, just general culture that's being developed in your volunteering. And you're not going to have people that want to come, or you might have people that come, but they feel like they have to come because that's the culture that's been created. So the way you communicate about how you're volunteering, how you even show up as a volunteer really matters.
It also creates a strong sense of community. Like having a friend, like to go volunteer with, it doesn't matter like what age they are, or like making a friend because you learned how to communicate through the generations, and being able to preserve knowledge that is passed down generationally. Like I've said, I've learned a lot through my elders, especially at work, and I'm always learning every day because I'm Gen Z. And so just being able to have that symbiotic relationship with each other, that give and take.
And really, I guess, like, one of my big points I really want everyone to take away is that, yes, communication is about, like, how clear you can be about instructions, but really communication is much more than that. It helps create a culture, a volunteer culture where every generation feels seen, valued, and needed. So that's really what we want to emphasize, is that, yes, communication does give structure and it gives the steps and how you do things and it lays everything out. But really, what it really actually does, it sets the tone. It sets your tone for everything. It sets your tone as a volunteer, how you're showing up in a space, how you want to be, how you want to interact, how you just want to leave the space at when you exit for those individuals, if you're helping other clients, when you volunteer. So communication really just sets the tone.
Also, we want to keep our volunteers. So being able to create that community and create that conversation between generations, it helps volunteer retention. So you have like a community to look forward to. You have groups of people that are probably going to be at the other volunteer opportunities. Like when I start volunteering with AWD, I'm probably going to see the same group of people every weekend or weekday that I volunteer. So being able to create an environment where everyone comes back and volunteers more.
No. And now we do have time for questions. And this is our contact information. We also have our business cards if you would like them, but we do have a designated time for questions. I know we were informal about it, but anything, you can ask anything, we are here. If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Is AmeriCorps Albuquerque, or is it a federal?
Federal. It is a federal program. And so, yes, we are AmeriCorps Vistas, and so we are AmeriCorps Vista. If you don't know what AmeriCorps is, we can give you a little spiel about that. AmeriCorps is a national program that is kind of like the Peace Corps, but like instead of the Peace Corps where you go out, AmeriCorps you stay in, and you can go either you can stay in the city you want to be in, or you can move across the country. I'm originally from Hawaii, so I came to do my AmeriCorps position here, and so the city of Albuquerque, through the Office of Civic Engagement, hosts us through a grant that is the AmeriCorps Vista grant, and we are here to serve the office and help build capacity in volunteering.
How do I get sent to Hawaii?
There might be an AmeriCorps senior program in Hawaii. I would highly recommend looking into it.
Send me your card.
But yes, we are AmeriCorps Vista, so yes.